Fellers, one of the hardest parts about sniping is definitely dealing with enemies in close range. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Let's not waste any time and hop right into it. The first thing I want to talk about is pre-aiming, but even before that, I want to talk about attacking and defending. So I've mentioned this before, but if you are defending, that means someone is pushing or peeking you, and when you are attacking, this means that you are peeking or pushing someone else. Basically, you are either being like the aggressor or the enemy is aggressoring you. So I want to mention this because it is important to understand the difference when you are pre-aiming. So in general, when I am defending, someone is peeking me, I will pre-aim low. Basically, this means I am expecting them to slide me. Most good players will slide, so that is why I do this while defending. Also, you do not really have time to adjust your aim while you're defending, at least in close range. So, worst case, if you aim low and they go high, you can at least hit a body shot, whereas the other way around, you can't, since you can't really adjust. Now, for attacking, while attacking, which again is usually when I am sliding someone or being the aggressor in the fight, I will aim at standing height. This is because I am the one initiating the fight. The other player will likely be standing or running rather than sliding. I do have a pretty good clip here. This first kill is me being the one to initiate the fight. I am looking at standing height. It does get a little funky around stairs, but once you know the maps well enough, you can sort of adjust to height differences with stairs and different like elevations easily. So after this first kill, where I was initiating the fight and I looked at standing height, I go outside to sort of find his teammates, and I realize that there's someone behind me. So as I turn, in this situation, I will be defending since they're the one peeking me. I don't have a ton of time to scope in, but I do expect them to be low. I expect them to slide, so I aim in low and they slide right into my scope. This is actually a great example of how I pre-aim in close quarters because I have both examples here, so that's why I use this clip. Obviously, you can be wrong sometimes, or a lot of the time, and the player will go high when you're looking low, or the other way around, whatever. But I find that the way I just explained, it at least gives you the best chance to pre-aim correctly, because at the end of the day, it is sort of a 50-50. I mean, I guess it's not really a 50-50, like you can make educated guesses, like I just sort of mentioned, but I do think doing it this way gives you the best chance based off of my experience. So now, how do you actually land these shots? Well, this is pretty hard to give tips for since a lot of it is experience and practice. But I do have a super important tip I can give that will definitely help some of you out. And that is to be patient. Now, what do I mean by this? It's so important, but basically, what most snipers will do who struggle in close range, especially, honestly, all do the same thing. Good or bad, doesn't really matter. If they see someone pushing them close, maybe just like straight line, whatever, really close, they start to panic. And what usually happens is an inexperienced sniper will panic and they'll miss their shot altogether, and even a good sniper will panic and they'll just hit a body shot and then die. That's usually what happens most of the time. But what I like to do is I will scope in and I will stand there and I will wait. I will wait as long as I possibly can, or as long as I possibly need to, before I shoot. Basically, I will scope in at my determined pre-aim head height, right, that we already talked about, because that should be the easy part. The hard part is sort of the right or left, but the up and down of your scope, like the vertical placement, should be easy because you're just going to pick head level or crouch level. You're just going to pick one because those are the two options. If they jump, you're kind of in trouble anyway. Once that happens, you're probably not going to hit a headshot. So just pick head level or body level like we talked about. I will scope in and I'll wait as long as I can until the enemy will move or strafe into my reticle. Now, if your aim is way off, then obviously you will need to adjust, but if it's close, I will hold it there as long as I can, and one of two things will happen. Either one, they'll walk into it and you can pull the trigger, or two, they don't walk into it and you will need to make sort of a flick adjustment towards the head. That is what I do. I will wait as long as I can though, because more often than not, they will walk into it if you aim properly. I mean, you need to be really patient. I will give up body shots even, like sometimes I'll scope in and I can hit a body shot at any moment I want, but I know that if I just wait for them to get closer or keep running or get further, whatever, I know that they'll eventually walk into it. Then I'll give up the body shot and just be patient and wait until the headshot is lined up. As long as I'm not in any immediate danger, I'll sit there as long as I can. I mean, I'll even just sit there and stare at that Titan that just snorted a line of G Fuel right in his stupid face until my shot is lined up properly. Here's actually a good example from trials this last weekend. So my teammates did die right before this, and I joined them shortly after this clip. But first I realized, okay, this is a 1v3, so I already know, all right, I'm gonna have to use my sniper because in this game you're not gonna 1v3 with a primary. It's just not gonna happen. This team had like 2 Lawrence drivers and a fusion, so yeah, no primary fights are happening in this match. So I turn and I realize there's someone behind me. I hit him with the melee, which sort of displaces him, right? That's what this melee does. And I slide towards him and I aim at standing height. And I sort of scope in to the left of him because I'm expecting him to want to go that way since that's where he came from, and I just hit him with the melee. So I'm like, I know that if I'm him and I get hit by something to start a fight, like before I even get in the fight, if I already took damage, I'm probably going to want to run away. So that's kind of what I'm expecting him to want to go back that way. So I aim a little bit to his left and I aim in and I sit there as long as I can. I am scoped in. Obviously it's not that long of a time because this all happens so fast, but I sit there scoped in off of target as long as I can because I'm expecting him to want to go this way, but he doesn't actually end up doing that. So I wait as long as I can, and then once I realize like, hey, he's getting too close to me, I know his teammates are behind me, you sort of get to the feel for how long you have before you're going to start taking damage or you die or whatever. But I wait as long as I can. He doesn't end up going where I thought, which is fine, so I make a quick adjustment. It doesn't actually end up being that much of an adjustment, but I do have to make one to line up the headshot. The whole time I am moving my feet as well. I'm not just standing still, so I am slowly getting my reticle closer this whole time, but it never quite gets there on its own, so I do have to flick, like I said. And after I get the kill, I immediately die, which basically just shows that, yeah, I did wait as long as I possibly could. Yes, I did die, and you could say, well, if you would have killed him faster, you could have maybe pulled something off. But really, if you rush the shot, you're not even going to hit that first shot. Like, this is not an easy shot for everyone to hit. So you do have to be a little patient with these close range shots. They're not, I mean, it's, you can't just snap around every single time and just like quick scope everyone. It's just not realistic. Anyway, this is what I do. I'm very patient in close range, and by patient I don't necessarily mean like I play slow. Like, you get the feel for how long you actually have before you need to take your shot, and I always try to wait as long as I can before I shoot. Now, what am I necessarily feeling out? Like, how do I decide this is too long? Well, once you start taking damage is an indicator, because once you start taking damage, flinch starts getting involved, and then it's just a mess. Like, whatever you want to say about flinch, it's not consistent for you or against you. Like, it's wonky. Sometimes it will completely screw you, and sometimes it will just give you a headshot. So once I start taking flinch, I just try to get my shot out, because anything after that, it's all just luck and RNG, whether you hit or not. So I don't want to mess with that. So once I start taking damage, I decide, okay, I need to shoot, because I don't want to deal with flinch. Plus, you can only take so much damage, obviously. One other thing I definitely want to point out is once you get in melee range, we all know how the melees kind of work in this game. They are very rubber bandy, I guess. Like, once people start meleeing and rubber banding around, it's not going to be possible to snipe them consistently. Again, like, you can get lucky, but we don't really want to deal with luck and RNG. So once I get into melee range, or I feel that I'm gonna get meleeed, I will try to take my shot, because like I said, once the melee goes off, you're pretty much done. So yeah, just feel that out. You should have a general idea of melee ranges. I know they're kind of wonky, especially with Ophidians, but once you get in melee range, be careful, because if they melee you, it's pretty much over. That's pretty much all I have for today. I hope that was at least somewhat helpful to some of you. I had a lot of people asking for this type of video, but it is pretty hard to give tips for this sort of thing. But let me know if you at least got something out of it. I do try to make my tip videos, like, I guess, pretty niche or like obscure almost, because The game has been out for so long, and I think it's really helpful to try to give some more in-depth or advanced tips that I don't really hear people talking about. So it is kind of hard to make a video on some of these things, but I hope that it's at least something that you haven't really heard before so that you can sort of add that to your game. But anyway, like, subscribe, all that, whatever. I appreciate everyone's support, and I'll see you next time.